Hey everyone, it's Jamie and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. I don't think I've actually ever posted a create a sim video, but today we are doing the Bratz Doll challenge. It's when you try to make a Bratz Doll looking sim in The Sims 4. I wanted to do this because I felt like it kind of was a good follow-up to my Barbie Gothic Dream House video where I made a pink Victorian mansion that I kind of thought would be like Barbie's getaway home too. And I did a lot of research for that video on fashion dolls, and of course Bratz are a fashion doll. Bratz are actually really, since Barbie came out, they were the next big fashion doll, and just like Barbie, they oddly enough did really big changes within kind of like the doll world, and how they were marketed is also very, very important for, I think, also how future toys have gone forward, believe it or not. So to begin out with, so Bratz dolls originally debuted on May 21st, 1999. However, they were received very poorly, did not sell well, and it really wouldn't be till the following Christmas that Bratz dolls actually began to really become popular and really began to pick up the sales. And a part of the reason it took a little over a year for Bratz dolls to really catch up or to do well is because Barbie really maintain this monopoly on the market of being, the best selling, the biggest and most important fashion doll, and it had been this way for almost like 50 years at this point, maybe just a little over 50 years. So, it was kind of hard to trump over Barbie. And with that said, to market themselves, Bratz dolls took it in a completely different kind of style. As you guys know, Bratz dolls are known for having very big heads, like proportionally massive compared to their bodies, as well as having massive eyes and very big, massive, full lips. One thing I think the Bratz dolls did differently from the get-go, from what I understand, I never played with Bratz dolls, but from my research, from what I understand, it seems like from the beginning of their inception, there seemed to be a lot more diversity within the dolls, and I don't know if that was on purpose, if that was something they noticed that Barbie was really kind of lacking in, which, I mean, by 1999, Barbie, of course, wasn't as solely white, blonde-haired girl as the Barbie dolls had been before. They definitely had been branching out by that time, but I think this was different in the sense that it began off being like, here's different girls. To be fair, I'm looking at them online, and to be fair, a lot of them still look very white. Even the ones that I think are supposed to be women of color definitely seem to have a almost white passing features to them. It's very strange. I don't know if that's on purpose. I don't know if that's just me over analyzing, so I will not dwell. One thing I also noticed is, as well, Barbie dolls, when they first came out, they were definitely supposed to be young adult women, career woman, young mom, stuff like that. While the Bratz dolls really seem to be more reflective of teenagers to like teenage to early 20s almost. You definitely see that in the fashion, the way that they definitely still have very young feel to them. So I think that's one thing that really also separates Bratz from not just Barbie but also its predecessors. As I talked in my Barbie video, what made Barbie so iconic was before Barbie there was just so many little girl dolls. The main doll was babies, and that's something that the bisque dolls before them and the porcelain dolls before that really kind of set apart. They weren't just baby dolls, but they're also adult ones. But Barbie, once again, also had a huge diversity later with age also. They also had like little girl Barbies, characters are supposed to be like Barbie's daughter, I guess. So the major thing about Bratz Dolls also that I think that really changed the market was they weren't just dolls. They had these like webisodes that came with, I think, later versions. I don't think the very first line of them came with the webisodes, but these webisodes, from what I understand, kind of like similar to Monster High, were like vague enough that you could get a grasp of who these characters were, but they weren't developed so much that like they were stipending the creativity of children. And I think there's like also movies and stuff that came out later. Like it became this really big phenomenon, kind of similar how like Barbie has Barbie movies and stuff, but that definitely comes a little bit later in Barbie's life. You know, when Barbie started off, there were no Barbie movies. But I think the webisode is something that really sets them apart from Barbies, also because these webisodes were vague enough that you could come up with a story. And I think they were just kind of stuff like, I've never watched the webisodes. I probably should have for some research, but I wasn't too interested in it. But one thing else, if they're anything like the Monster High ones, which I did watch a little of those for my research on my Barbie video, oddly enough. But these webisodes, I'm assuming, you know, would be vague enough so you could understand what girls get along, which ones don't. And then on top of that, each doll has their own name, and they kind of have these different personality types. And I think that's kind of interesting. Like I believe the boxes gave a little info, a little blurb about who's Yasmin, for example. I think that's how you pronounce her name. As well as who their friends were. Well, I believe Barbie dolls have been, since the beginning of time, have been kind of vague enough where, you know, you get, this is Barbie and this is Ken, and, you know, they're destined to be together. But even then, it's still vague enough that you can make up your own play here and there. Another thing about Bratz that I didn't know until I started researching is that in the United States specifically, they have gone over a few different rebrandings and a few different times when Bratz dolls were actually taken off the shelves and the company took a hiatus to, you know, rebrand and change things. And with each rebranding, they would relaunch the original 4 dolls, I believe, as well as add a few new ones here and there. But and I believe the last time they renew was, I believe, in 2016. Yeah, in 2016, Bratz were discontinued again after a very poorly executed rebranding of the 2015 restart, I believe. And then in 2017, it was announced that in 2018, the Bratz dolls would be coming back. I haven't been able to research to see if they have made a comeback yet. I mean, if they do, I think good for them. But that's one thing I thought was really interesting, because in my research with Barbie, it seems to be she's been a consistent staple. And even though, you know, while her sales have kind of gone up and down over the years, for the most part, Barbie has remained the #1 seller worldwide, that is, for dolls. I know within each country it's a little different. I was reading that, I believe in 2006, I want to say, it may have actually been 2010, Bratz were like the #1 doll sales in the UK, but I think worldwide Barbie was still like #1. And then, you know, Barbie's never really gone through major rebranding in the sense where there's been a hiatus and then Barbie comes back different. It seems to be just new Barbie dolls are released. And I think that's also, that kind of speaks to how more flexible Barbie is. I think in some ways, I think they developed the girls from Bratz just a little too much, and I'm wondering if that at all affected how they were received. So, you know, just some thoughts, food for thought. And then, as you may or may not know, Bratz were eventually kind of thrown out of style and were replaced by Monster High. Monster High being similar to Bratz in the sense of they kind of had the same proportions, but the difference was that you could have like a monster doll who's a fashion doll, and I think in some ways that appeals a lot more to little kids. I think kids get a little bored of just having a lot of pretty Barbies laying around, and I think that's why part of the success of Monster High. And then Monster High also, from what I understand, was a lot more vague than Bratz and Barbie are with like the relationships and who each character is. So I think that also has to do with the success. You know, keep it vague and you'll keep kids interested. However, I think this is where I'll be wrapping it up soon. I'm just finishing up some hot weather items. This character, you know, I'm not super excited about her. I go back and at the end and I make all of her proportions a lot smaller once again to try to make her head look a lot bigger. I've noticed it's kind of hard to make a Bratz doll in The Sims 4. Now I see why it's a challenge. And I know a lot of people use CC. I use only base game or only in-game stuff. This doll will be for download on my gallery. My username is Jaymehorne, Jaymehorne, one word. My name will also be down in the description in case you didn't catch that. You can download it. Her name's just Bratz Doll. You can rename her if you want. But yeah, let's get into some pics.